Thing I've risked the most in life for and gone through the most excruciating pain for is love. Mainly love and romantic relationships, but love in general. I probably risked the most for romantic relationships, but also in my family. And the deep yearning for that kind of connection and care is something that's just core to being human. I've taken the most risks. I've taken the greatest leaps. I've done seemingly like crazy things by my friends' accounts. I get a lot of the like, only you would do that, Pam, kind of statements. And the thing that I've learned, or the thing that I now believe to be true more than anything else that I know, is that the most important quality in a relationship of any kind is reciprocity. And that can be broken down into a few things. So that might be cheating as far as an answer goes. But reciprocity is its own unique thing. It can be expressed in a variety of ways, whether respect, whether communication, whether affection or care. But in general, what it boils down to is, are the two people or multiple people, the people involved in a relationship of any kind, do you feel like we are aligned on the same intention here? Are we all trying to do our best and care for the other person? And we often say like, oh, it's not a tit for tat, it's not a balance sheet. Like, no, absolutely not. It doesn't have to look like this equal one-to-one kind of exchange. But what it comes down to is, do both people feel like the other person is in it to understand them and care for them? Or are they in it for something else? Or are they just not in it anymore at all? Because the being in it, the being committed to each other, whether as partners, spouses, friends, family members, whatever, is, are we prioritizing care for each other above everything else? Because oftentimes relationships and friendships end when you start to recognize that someone no longer values, or sorry, not that they don't value you, but they're no longer prioritizing care for you the way that they used to, or the way that you do for them. That their care for you has dropped down the priority list, or if at all, if it's still on it. It's, do you feel like we're still trying to understand each other? Are we still trying to be as loving and caring as possible with a commitment towards each other? And when there is reciprocity, like we feel it. The thing that we have felt when you just feel like there's such a romance going, whether it's a bromance, whether it's a girl crush, whether it's a full-on like romantic romance, whatever it may be, like it's this build of two people being invested, sharing in their own way, care for the other person. It's how trust is built. It might be someone sharing a secret about seemingly something like, I've never told anyone this kind of thing. And you start to feel the like, oh, like I feel honored you told me. And then that might prompt you to open up and share something. And trust them with knowing you. It can be in tiny actions too, where if someone's always the one who gets up early and makes coffee, and then after a while, the other person takes them for granted, and one day is like, why didn't you make coffee? Because if the other person starts to build resentment around them not being appreciated for doing that thing, feeling taken for granted, then they may stop making the coffee. Or they just may do it but still feel resentful. And so it isn't a, you did this for me, scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. It truly is a, how can we communicate that we are here to understand and care for each other? It's really what it comes down to. And we also feel it when the reciprocity is no longer there. Where someone might say, oh, I miss you, I love you, but you don't really ever spend time with them. They don't reach out to hang out. And you might raise it to them and be like, hey, like, I haven't seen you in a while. Like, what's going on? Like, I haven't heard from you. Like, do you still want to be friends? Like, what's up? And they might be like, no, you're wonderful. I so want to spend time with you. Like, I think you're great. Like, yeah, like, of course, let's hang out soon. But they don't make a plan and they don't reach out and they don't initiate. And so then you're like, all right, you're going to stop trying because the reciprocity isn't there. But when it's new friends and one person's like, hey, let's hang out. And the other person's like, yeah, awesome. How does your Thursday look? And you immediately get into trying to make it happen. That builds the goodwill. That's reciprocity. And even in the most challenging situations, even after the biggest fights, even after potentially some of like the biggest hurt that's caused, relationships are still salvageable, not guaranteed, but they're salvageable if we show how committed we are to caring and loving someone else. How committed we are to understanding them and who they are and why they are and valuing them. Because even with the greatest rifts in relationships, repair can happen if people recognize that other people are really trying and committed to prioritize the other person's well-being. And I've had friendships end with people who I thought we were so aligned and so in sync and would be in each other's lives forever. I've seen those relationships end because a gap emerged in our understanding of each other, our desire to understand each other. And what started to feel more important was their self-preservation. And of course, we put ourselves above everyone. Like, that's what we all do. But in the context of a friendship or any relationship, if you don't feel like the other person is there because they care about you and want to understand you and want to like be in your life and love you, it's really hard to build or repair or heal. I've had friendships with people where we have completely differing opinions, seemingly opposite ends of the spectrum. But we had respect for each other and we wanted to understand the other person and why they thought what they thought and see what middle ground we could build or bridge. And so often, I think when human dynamics are at play, it's not about finding the people solely who think what you think or believe what you believe. It's about finding the people that, even when shit gets hard, even when there is differing opinions, even when you might hurt each other, that you can come back to the table and say, I'm sorry, and show in good faith that they're there to understand you, and they're there because they care about you, and you feel that genuinely. Reciprocity. I don't think any relationship survives without it. And that's the key to healthy ones, the loving ones, the committed ones. Because what you're committed to is caring for each other. And if both people feel it, the relationship survives. Once someone doesn't, that's how it risks falling apart. And the beautiful thing about reciprocity is that there's no one way to show it. There's endless ways to show it and build it. But at the end of the day, it's the most fundamental thing for any successful relationship. And I've seen all of my relationships live or die by them, by that.